So here's what I don't understand about the Minnesota Vikings. They're 8-1 coming off of 7 straight wins, of course. They have a new coach, a new general manager. Yet you'd think that at home on Sunday they'd be favorited to win the game. Well, they're not. The Dallas Cowboys are favorited against the Vikings. Now the Cowboys last game, we saw them go up against the Green Bay Packers. A game in which they lost. A game in which they gave up like 207 rushing yards, yeah, on 39 carries. The Dallas Cowboys, they're a good team, right? We know that with Dak back, they're a problem out there. But the Vikings are just much more of a complete team. They haven't lost at home, which is another thing. And they have Justin Jefferson, the biggest weapon probably in all of football. I mean, this guy is on pace for over 2,000 receiving yards. That is just ridiculous. 130 catches. He has the most contested catches in the NFL. And every single week, he makes a bigger and bigger catch. I wouldn't be surprised against the Cowboys if he makes an even bigger catch than he did against the Bills with that one-handed catch. And I know that sounds crazy, but who would have thought that he'd make a bigger catch than the one against the Cardinals, right? So with Justin Jefferson playing the way that he is, with Kirk Cousins being good enough to where you can rely on him, we can rely on Kirk Cousins in big games. I know that in the past that hasn't been the case, and I know against the Eagles and things like that, it didn't go his way, but against the Bills, I know that technically wasn't prime time. It was it was a 1 p.m. Eastern. But Kirk made plays in that game, which leaves me with optimism. And the fact that he was basically the 15th best quarterback in the first half of the season, and now that he's learning the scheme and he's getting more experience in it, he's only going to improve. So the Vikings defense has been insane, bro. Coming off the edge, you've got Zadarius Smith, you've got Daniil Hunter. Obviously, up front, you've got some big bodies. Patrick Peterson has turned back the clock. You could argue that the biggest matchup in this game is going to be Peterson against CeeDee Lamb. Now, I don't know how much they're going to match up with each other, but when they do, that's going to be must-see TV because you've got one of the most up-and-coming stars in the league versus, what, 32-year-old Patrick Peterson who had 2 interceptions off of Josh Allen last week. I mean, this game is going to be awesome. I'm not surprised that it's not prime time because the Chiefs and Chargers, whenever those guys get together, it's always fun. Before the Cowboys and Vikings, I just don't think these two teams are on a different level. And you can call me biased, but I understand how good the Cowboys are. But the Vikings are 8-1. They haven't lost at home. They clearly have a better all-around team. I mean, the Vikings, I don't really know if they're going to give up over 200 rushing yards very often. I mean, you can let me know down below how many times they've done that this season. The Cowboys also got torched against the Bears. Now, they did beat the Bears, but look at what Justin Fields did on the ground. Look at what Khalil Herbert did on the ground. And imagine what Alexander Madison and Dalvin Cook are going to do. Dalvin Cook scored a touchdown in 5 straight games. He's the only player to do so. It's pretty remarkable. Shout out to Dalvin Cook. Unfortunately, I did have to trade him in fantasy because my depth was lacking, but I wish Cook nothing but the best. There's a reason why I used my first round pick on him. I know what he's capable of, and I had a lot of faith in this offense, especially with Kevin O'Connell and his scheme and his brilliance. But yeah, that's other than that, bro. I'm looking at this game and I'm saying that the Vikings, their priority is the number one seed, right? The Eagles lost against the Commanders. The Eagles play against the Colts in Lucas Oil Stadium. Now, obviously, I'm a Colts fan if you guys didn't know that. And nobody is counting on us to win that game, which I think is a major issue because with these teams that are sort of not necessarily like the bottom of the barrel, but these teams that really no one's talking about, if you go into their building and you're not prepared, you're definitely going to be humbled quickly. And the Eagles without Jordan Davis are not the same team. So I feel Jonathan Taylor is going to get going early, and I feel like we have enough defense to be able to limit the Eagles. And obviously, the Commanders with what they bring with their pass rush, and obviously with what they did on the ground, just running it every single time basically, and then third down, hitting Terry McLaurin. So we've got Michael Pittman, and we've got some weapons, but I'm looking at the Vikings and I'm saying that if they can get that number one seed and get a bye and also home field throughout the playoffs, that would be pretty crazy. That would be pretty crazy because I like Minnesota a lot at home. Like I said, they haven't lost a game this season at home. So if they can get home field advantage throughout the playoffs, obviously not in the Super Bowl, but they're going to be very tough to beat, man. I mean, someone's going to have to come into Minnesota and beat this team. And there's a real chance that the Vikings don't even lose one game at home this season. I mean, Dallas, sure, they're a test, but The Vikings just went into Buffalo and beat Josh Allen, one of the best run defenses in the league. We saw what Dalvin Cook was able to do. He got that 81-yard run. And in this game, I expect Kirk Cousins to not really turn it over. I mean, last game we saw he had 2 interceptions, and Kirk was he was okay. I don't think Kirk was great. I don't think he was bad. He was just I think he made good plays that definitely made up for it. But overall, statistically, like Kirk was not at his best, and I expect him to be at his best against the Cowboys. And even though the Vikings have all this momentum, you'd think that eventually it's going to come to a halt here, but I just don't think it is. I really don't see the Cowboys winning this game, and the simple truth is that the Vikings, they always are in close games, like one score type of games. So that is going to benefit them because even though obviously you'd love to see teams go out there and blow everyone out, but once you are in close games, you don't really know how to handle it, right? So the fact that the Vikings are always in close games, usually games are going to be close. That's why if you look at the spread and you look at all these, if you guys bet on sports, I don't, but I mean, you look at them and it's like, oh, they're a 3.5 point favorite or something on the road. Well, yeah, it's not going to be 10 point favorite. Even if look at the Eagles and Colts, I think that game's a 6.5. So it goes to show that the Vikings, they still are disrespected. They were disrespected all offseason. I mean, trust me, I didn't just start making Vikings videos when they got on a win streak. I've been making Vikings videos the entire offseason. I made a video 7 months ago talking about Justin Jefferson and why the NFL should be terrified of him. So I'm not new to the Vikings being slept on, but the truth is the Vikings have had some good teams and they've not done anything with them. They've had some very, very talented teams, some of the most talented teams in the history of the NFL, with no Super Bowl to show for it. So I understand that perspective of not believing in the Vikings, but like when it's in front of your very eyes and they're beating the Bills and they're beating everyone they're supposed to, and now they're at home where they haven't lost against the Cowboys who just struggled against the Packers, it really is mind-boggling to me how we can't at least credit the Vikings for what they've done so far. But like I said, just keep winning games. Eventually, the respect's going to come, and the number 1 seed's wide open in the NFC, but it's your boy Swaggy. I'm signing out, guys. Hopefully you have a good one later.